Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. It's me, Tom Stanley, alongside my favourite Steve Jones. It is Steve Jones at SJ Racing Media. Just the two of us battle through 9 races. They're all live on ITV. And the feature race this weekend is the feature handicap. It is the Ayr Gold Cup. We now know the draw. We waited till after the 11 o'clock draw to do this and go live with it. So we're going to get stuck straight into that race. A reminder, if you like our content, to like and subscribe, because it helps you and it definitely helps us as well. So please do like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening or watching on. Steve, the Ayr Gold Cup then. I'll give the prices out as and when we get to them. I've got a couple of selections. You've got just the one. Take me through the importance of the draw, or non-importance of it, please.
Well, it's the same as usual. You want to be where the pace is. I know that it's been dominated by high horses in the past, but you want to just be where the pace is, and I think that's crucial in the Ayr Gold Cup, because it does tend to, and the silver and bronze, it does tend to suit horses that are ridden a little bit more patiently. So you do want to toe into the race. Have you seen the draw? Because it'd be handy if you would tell me.
Oh right, yes, I did. I was superb. Yes, I have seen the draw. I did it. Gordon Brown did it up at Ayr, and I was anchoring in the studio at Racing TV. So, would you like to tell me where your horse is drawn?
Yeah, please.
Right, good. It's not updated on the post yet, is it? That is superb. So even though I've done it, I don't have it in front of me. I know where my selections are. I don't know where Fast Response is. I'll get it on social media. That's brilliant. That's just That's just lovely. Tell me why you fancy Fast Response. I'll tell you the draw.
Right, Fast Response, who's trained by Carl Burke, who's got a number of runners in the field. And I thought it was interesting to see that from the entries, Clifford Lee was jocked up on Lethal Levi. And I thought perhaps that means Fast Response isn't running, but obviously you can't just go by that, because I fancy Fast Response. And then I saw Brandon Wilkie's name pop up on the declarations, and I thought that was very good, because he's a very good £7 claimer. He's 4 from 16 for the yard this season, and he takes £7 off a horse who's got who's towards the head of the weights. This is a horse who goes very well on soft ground. Now, I know it's only good in places at the moment, but it's due to rain tonight and well into tomorrow morning, so I can see it being proper soft ground at Ayr for Friday and Saturday's cards, and that will suit Fast Response beautifully. A horse that's got really good form this season in listed races. He was runner-up to the Dream first time up at Doncaster in the Camage Trophy, and then since then he's been running more or less exclusively in listed races, apart from one run in a 7 furlong Goodwood Group 3. And although he's not won, he's certainly holding his form very well in listed races. If you go back to the back end of last season, he was doing exceptionally well. He was better handicapped, yeah, definitely, but he was doing very well in those kind of back end handicaps on soft ground. Won 3 out of 4 to end the season. And when the rain comes, he's a horse that I think you've always got to have on side. And with the assistance of Brandon Wilkie, and the fact that he's taken his form to another level this time, and also the fact that he's a very strong traveller, likes a fast-paced big fields, he's very suited to that, probably better suited to big field handicaps than he is listed races that he's been running very well in. So I think he's got an awful lot going for him, and he was a decent price. He was something like 20.1.0 before the decks. The betting's not quite out yet.
No,
that I've seen.
It's not. That's not really changed. And you're drawn 3, Steve. So you've got Bielsa in 1. That's got to be no bad thing. Ali's Dancer in 5, Lethal Levi 6, Pause for Thought 7. They're all sort of pace horses. So I think there's a lot of pace across the track, but that's no bad thing, I don't think, for Fast Response. Agreed?
If that's where the pace is, where's Mr. Wagyu?
Well, I'm going to tip that horse up as well. Okay. But Mr. Wagyu is 21.
Long way away. Where's Guido?
Guido is 8.
Yeah, see, Guido will go forward.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, and the ones you mentioned should do as well. Pause for Thought's another one that probably be up there. So yeah,
Yes, drawn 7. No, so I thought Mr. Wagyu he's lower than last year when running really, really well. I quite like the fact that he's drawn away from bits of other pace. I'm hoping he does a bit of a Bielsa. And he was just I think quite often with the Ayr Gold Cup, you get the sexy horses of the sort of the 3, 4s and 5-year-olds, and the older horses get a little bit discounted. But, look what Summergan did last year. Mr. Wagyu's a course and distance winner, ran really well in the race last year. And like 95, he's well capable. He ran really well at the Curragh a couple of weeks ago. He's just been knocking on the door in a few races. Goodwood, he ran really well in the Stewards Cup when second in his group, and he lines up off the same mark. So 17.0 I thought was fair enough. And the other one is the obvious one. I thought I was against Orazio at Ascot. This sounds like after timing. I was against him at Goodwood when he went off at silly short prices. But now at around about 8.0, I think he's backable. And I think the key is, I think the ground was too quick at Ascot, and I think it was too slow at Goodwood. Maybe I'm just finding excuses, but I think he wants easy side of good to be at his very best. It means it slows some of the others down, but he clearly wasn't right at Goodwood. Maybe it wasn't his track. I thought he had a very good chance, Orazio, of being there or thereabouts. And in recent years, I feel like it's not been a bad race for favourites either. So you had Nahar take it at the top of the betting, Son of Rest, Don't Touch, 3 in the last 10. But Orazio and Mr. Wagyu for me. Orazio, incidentally, now I've forgotten where he's drawn. High, 23. So I'm in 23, 21. Steve's in stall number 3. There you go. Anything else to add, Steve?
No, just that looking forward to it. I like this meeting, and yeah, it should be good fun.
Great. That's the Ayr Gold Cup, done and dusted. 1:15 is next up at Ayr. It's the mile handicap. Prices are as follows. Judgment Call sits atop the betting, who is 5.5, 6.0 Isla Kai, 9.0 Titan Rock. Diamond on the Hill is 11.0. Bigger prices thereafter. Who are you with, Steve?
Isla Kai, who won last time out at Ripon. That was on good ground. If it goes soft, he's got absolutely no problem with softer ground. He's got a very good record on softer ground. And I just think that he might be the sort of horse to take you into the autumn. Now he's hit form. He ran very well at Newbury before that win last time out, but that was over 7 furlongs, and a mile suits him much better. And yeah, he's just a horse holding his form very well, who I can see getting somewhere near the sort of tucked in behind the leaders and in seeing it out very well.
I wasn't overly strong on this race. I'll be honest, the horse I half fancy wasn't declared for the race, which is never ideal. But Titan Rock was on my shortlist, and he's a course winner. He's definitely capable of this sort of mark, and I'm just surprised he hasn't had more goes over a mile. So if you look at his history, he's had 3 goes over it, and he's 1 from 3 over it. That was the first try at a mile, when he didn't settle ideally, but still saw it out. Then went to Newmarket, again was keen. And on the straight course at Ascot, then, this was a couple of years ago, he probably didn't quite see it out. But that's the Ascot stiff straight course. And then he's been back over 7 ever since. He seems to have settled down a bit the older he's got. And he can still be keen, I know. But I think, a half decent size field, round a bend, I thought he was well worth another go over a mile, particularly on the Thirsk run last time. And that was his first run since back from a little break. So at the prices, I just thought he was a little bit overlooked. I'd have him a bit shorter at the top of the market. I think, yeah, around about 9.0 for Titan Rock. But it's a very much sort of win and place, not overly confident shout, given the nature of the race. The 205 is the Autumn Cup. It's a handicap over a mile 5.5. I'll get prices up shortly. Who are you with, Steve?
Sorry, the 205.
No, sorry, Steve. I've gone mad. I'm looking at Newbury. I've got ahead of myself, and I apologise. We're sticking with Ayr. It's the Doonside Cup, Steve.
Yeah, and I'm
Do you know-
really looking forward to this because I think there's a horse in here could be very good indeed. I mean, there's one who's already shown his hand to some respect in My Prospero.
He's not going to beat my Prospero. He's not going to beat my Prospero, Steve.
Prospero, isn't it? It's Prospero.
It is
Is it Shakespeare, isn't it?
It's Shakespeare, Steve.
I
It's
always call it Prospero.
and that's wrong, and that's fine. How is your selection going to beat my Prospero? Who's just
Who said it's wrong?
what?
Because Big Willie isn't around to tell us it's wrong.
As he was known to his mates. Well, it's what we've come accustomed to calling him,
Exactly.
Prospero.
Don't be a sheep. I'm gonna be a sheep though and call him My Prospero,
Good
who's
man.
got that form. It was only beaten half a length and third in the Champion Stakes. He's since run really well. You could say, oh, maybe a little bit disappointing behind Al Flayler to be beaten by Al Flayler last time, but then Al Flayler is gone on and run very well in the Irish Champion. So yeah, I can see my Prospero, but I just think getting weight, Royal. Did I say Prospero again?
Fine, it's fine. Old habits die hard.
I know how to pronounce Royal Rhyme. And Royal Rhyme, I think, in soft ground. If it does rain, which it's forecast to do all night and into tomorrow, and if it's proper soft ground, Royal Rhyme is going to love it. What he did at Goodwood, I wasn't all that surprised by it, but I thought it was hugely impressive to take apart a competitive field which has been packed with decent winners. The likes of Silver Sword was down the field, who's come out and won it at York Ebor meeting. Crack Shot came out and won a good race at Newbury. The third home, Alskib, came out and won at Ascot. So it's a race that's worked out really well. And okay, Royal Rhyme might have just handled conditions better than the rest, but he cruised through that race and bolted up. Now, he cruised through the race in the London Gold Cup, and something must have gone wrong because, he wasn't seen for more than 2 months after that, but he just absolutely folded. You thought he was going to bolt up in the London Gold Cup if you saw it 2 or 3 out. And I think that in that race, it's often packed with potentially group winners. And I think that's what Royal Rhyme is. I think he's very good. He's trained by Carl Burke, so I'm hoping it's going to be a good day for him. He's a 3-year-old, getting a bit of weight off some of the others. So, yeah, I really like this horse, especially if it rains, which is forecast to do.
My Prospero, I like the cheek piece on first time. 2.4. I think he should be odds on, Steve. I think he's a good deal better than these. I know he's got to give Royal Rhyme £5, but he's rated £11 superior. It's just look 2 3/4 lengths behind Modern Games in a Group 1 when keeping on, 6.5 lengths behind Mostadaf. But to put that into context, he was only 2 lengths behind Adayar, half a length behind Luxembourg, and then last time, I guess it was a bit disappointing on the face of it, but Al Flayler's a very, very good horse, and I think the cheek pieces will help. So I really think he'll win, and I think he should be odds on. William Haggis took it with a Dave a few years ago. Just trying to give weight to my selection, but yeah, I think he'll win. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I'm really surprised actually that a horse that a 4-year-old who's already running Group 1 races is higher rated than a 3-year-old who's come through handicaps. So I'm really puzzled by that one.
The point being that I'm not surprised he's higher rated, but I'm surprised at the prices. I don't think the price difference.
Yeah.
What price did my Prospero go off?
Don't know, probably where he is now. Even shade of odds against.
He'll go off 1.9, I reckon.
Yeah, maybe, but he won't win. Well, it's not.
Okay.
It's certainly not I think this is a potentially top class horse. You could potentially see in the Champion Stakes later on. That's where I think that Royal Rhyme is. He's got the he's got the pedigree to be decent and to step into group races. And I think, yeah, that's definitely it. The thing with official ratings in these, I always say that they mean nothing. Of course, they mean something, but they don't mean an awful lot. But it's not what you're rated. It's not even what you're capable of being rated. It's what that you actually run to in that particular race. And Royal Rhyme, there's no doubt, has the potential to be an awful lot higher rated than he is. And I think he's up to that sort of level. And with a horse that has to have cheek pieces on for the first time because he keeps getting beaten, albeit by good horses, I'm quite happy with it, especially if it turns up testing. That's going to be a right leveler. And Royal Rhyme loves it.
All right, moving on to the 225, which is the Ayr Silver Cup. I'll give you prices when we get there. Peter's Punt says Steve doesn't rate ratings. He doesn't. You are with Woven, Steve Jones. Why?
Yeah, Woven is another horse that goes well in soft ground, was placed in the race last year on good ground, and is another horse who does very much like these big field handicaps, especially when you can come into the race from off the pace that's suited like it's going to be in the Ayr Gold Cup. And he's another one that's drawn middle to low, like a few of them. And there seems to be a lot of pace in here. Danzan will go forward, Fast and Loose will go forward. They're both drawn low. So there should be enough on that far side. If it depends. They might decide to come down the middle more, or it's hard to second guess the draw. But I think Woven has got an excellent chance on that last year's form, and also he comes into it in good form. He's a horse that has been holding his form very well, and I think he's got a decent chance.
I haven't got prices. I'm sorry. It's because of the nature. You wait for the decks for the Gold Cup, and then they sort themselves out in the Silver Cup. So I don't have prices yet, but I'm imagining we're dealing with horses that there's going to be no shorty. So I'm with Abduction anyway, who has got good form over the track. The last time we ran over 6 here was very disappointing. Don't really know why he was so disappointing. He was 9.0, but he was well beaten. That was a worst run in a while, which is a slight concern. But it's not the track, 'cause he handles the track. Proved that when winning over 7. I think a big field over 6 is probably what he wants, and a good old pace to chase, which he gets. And if I go back to the Musselburgh run in a Sunday series race where he was just touched off by the thin blue line, that's form that's worked out pretty well, and they're strong races for the grade. He lines up off the same mark, and he's a horse in form who just got done a bit on quick ground, I thought, last time, and I think he was outpaced. Whereas a return to a slower surface, big field over 6, I thought Abduction had a decent chance. He's drawn 24. I have this thing in my head that you want to be middle to high on the straight course at Ayr. I might be wrong. I just have it stuck in my head. A bit like I have at York, where I feel like you want to be middle to low, and that hasn't worked out all year. So there you go. We move on to the 3 o'clock. This is the Firth of Clyde. I'm a no bet here, Steve, because I really couldn't see past this Rakir. I think she's exceptionally talented. And as far as the non-group races we've had this year, I thought that was the best juvenile performance at Haydock. She was excellent. So I didn't want to oppose her, but I'm not going to back a 2-year-old at 1.6 or whatever she is. Over to you.
Yeah, I quite agree with you. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Rakir won. What she's done so far is been really good. But if they get the rain that's forecast, I think that maybe makes her less of a interesting bet, because she's never been on the surface, and although she's been very impressive the last twice, so is Great Generation. Great Generation's done nothing wrong whatsoever and has been winning on easy ground. And first time up, it Haydock beat a horse, Toraloo, who was making his debut for David O'Mara, and another horse, but did it the wrong way round. Came from off the pace that day. So I think a horse doing it like that is in a novice race, first time up, has got the the potential to improve quite a bit. And I think that's what she did second start by beating Jabara. Now, Jabara had run midfield in Group 3 races, first in the Albany at Royal Ascot, and then at Newmarket in the Sweet Solero when she ran very well. Well, she was no match whatsoever when she dropped down in grade, albeit giving a bit of weight to Great Generation. And I was really impressed with her that day. Marco Botti is a trainer who hasn't had the most fantastic seasons for the last 2 or 3 years, but his horses have really started to fire in the last few weeks. And Great Generation hopefully keep that good run going. And I certainly don't think they should be that far apart. She's 4.0, where Rakia is 2.0. So she's an awful lot bigger.
And we've had a question in. Owen says, surely you're laying a 2-year-old at 1.6. Well, I mean, it's all value relative, isn't it? No, I wouldn't be against her. I think she's exceptional. I'm not bold enough to back her. You wouldn't out and out lay a juvenile just because of the prices odds on, would you, Steve?
It depends. I can see where Owen's coming from, and if I could lay her at 1.6, I probably would, but I don't think you can. I think it's going to be nearer 2.0. So yeah, I can see what Owen's doing. Exactly. That's exactly what my thinking as well. You don't know with a 2-year-old, especially a horse that has looked so impressive on decent ground, and we're getting into the autumn where horses do lose their form a little bit. So yeah, I would agree with Owen. If I could lay at 1.6, yeah, I wouldn't put anyone off that, but I don't think you'd be able to.
Well, I'm slightly confused because I was going on old prices before decks I had, and now, as you say, you can get 2.0. I mean, I think she should be odds on. So to update, if we're looking at 2.0, I'm definitely a backer. Definitely.
Aye.
Definitely. She'll beat these. Right, done. I'm putting that in as she's got to be 2.0, but I'm a backer. 100%. Thanks for flagging that, Owen. But at 1.6, I wouldn't be a backer or a layer. Okay, we done with Ayr. We are, aren't we? Moving on to Newbury then, the 130. I'm a no bet here. I will have a lay, which is the horse at the top of the betting, and I'll come to that when we get to the lay. You in Fedora, Steve?
Yeah, well, it's going to be an awful lot softer at Newbury than it is at Ayr. I think it's heavy, I think, in places, and if they get more rain, well, it's going to be desperate conditions. And Nymphadora is a filly who does seem to show her best form on testing ground. She beat Kings Lynn in a Chester handicap back in May. And although that form hasn't worked out fantastically, I still think that Nymphadora is the one. Now, she beat Silky Wilkie when she went through the race very easily in the City Wall Stakes at York back in July, listed race. That was on good to soft as well. And she just seemed to get on the front end and go very well, and nothing got near her. And although York, does suit front runners, then I think that's exactly what she can do again today. And she might be hard to peg back in this small field. I was a bit surprised that they ran they're running Sensitivity on this ground, to be honest. And Nymphadora is in the same ownership, so it does put in another kind of unponderable. But the likes of Razzle would much prefer a faster pace, and I don't think that he's going to get it, because Nymphadora might easily just pop off in front and do her own thing.
Yeah, I'll come back to Sense of Duty, but I think that she could just be a take-on job at the price. Come back to that when we get to the lays. The 205 is the Autumn Cup. 5.0 for Valsad. 1 for the Gutter is 7.0. Sea King is 7.0. Salt Bay is 8.0. Bigger prices thereafter. I'll kick off with Salt Bay, who's a horse I've backed before. Did so at the very start of the year, when ultimately he was a little bit disappointing. I thought he ran with a bit more credit, but didn't really finish it off as well as you'd like last time. But that's not to say that he doesn't stay. I think he does. I just think he's well worth siding with in a handicap for the first time. They've obviously taken their time with this 3-year-old. I think 105 is feasible in a handicap that he can make his presence felt. He's handled Cup before. He ran in a Group 1 as a juvenile, and I'm not overly taken with those bang at the top of the market. So 3-year-old Salt Bay at the price is just a win bet because it's only 7. Steve?
Yeah, the outsider of the entire field, Get Shirty. Now, I think this horse, I think this race is going to be run at a pretty decent gallop because Not So Sleepy, who was placed in the Cesarovic over 2-2 and is obviously a very smart hurdler, who was even tried at 3 miles over hurdles, is going to have to go off pretty hard if Not So Sleepy is going to have any sort of chance in this and make it a real test. And also Sea King goes from the front as well. So I think there'll be a proper gallop in this, and Get Shirty might just be able to pick up the pieces. Now he's been plummeting down the weights because he's been running pretty modestly, but I'm sure he's got a race in him now. He's come down to a decent mark. If you go back to last summer, he's winning really good races on soft ground, like the old Newton Cup at Haydock, and he also won on fast ground at Royal Ascot in one of those new handicaps. I think it's the Copper Horse. So likes this sort of distance, no problem with soft ground, and should get a fast pace. And I think that will be the key to Get Shirty. And I was a little disappointed last time in the old Borough Cup at Haydock, but maybe he wants a little bit of soft ground now. That certainly won't inconvenience Get Shirty. And David O'Mara, his horses are in decent form. So, yeah, Get Shirty, I'm going to take a chance with.
Get Shirty, who I'll give you an updated price, is 11.0. It's a tight enough market. Salt Bay's 8.0. Moving on to the next. This is the 240. It's a handicap over 10 furlongs. Balance play is 4.33. Totnes is 5.5. Mustazid is 7.5. 8.0 Le Mans, and bigger prices thereafter. I think balance play is a lovely prospect here. York last time, just think the ground was definitely too quick. He was beaten on quick ground at Epsom as well, when just the wheels that they were spinning a bit, just off it early here. And I remember doing the horses going down to post at York, and he never looked very happy then either. Whether it was the walk across that got a bit revved up, I don't know. He was the 4.0 favourite that day, and he just looked like one to take on from sort of the moment Hector Crouch got on board. But clearly handles a bit of cut, and I still think there's a lot of upside. I know a few judges that coming into the York were quite confident about him. So I still think there's room to improve off a mark of 95. I just think the key is he has to be kept away from quick ground. He's a Lope de Vega. I think he's a worthy favourite. Steve?
If I could tell you the stats for Lope de Vega, it's very similar to Pivotal. Fast ground, soft ground, their stats are very, very similar. And everyone seems to think, oh, Pivotal, soft ground. And the stats say, yeah, they handled soft ground, but they're also just as good on fast ground. It's just, I think they're very similar stallions in that respect, in that they're just very good and they go on all ground. But they maybe some of the better, higher profile horses early on in their stallion careers went on soft ground and went well on soft ground, because that's the way it is. Anyway, I'm going to Totnes down in Devon and Totnes is a Kingman.
They want fast ground.
Yeah, probably. Totnes showed that a little bit of juice in the ground's no problem at Chelsea. So I just think this is a very progressive horse. Maybe conditions will find him out, but until they do, or her rather, I'm quite willing to take that chance, because she does look very progressive, and I think she deserves a crack at something like that. And I think they've trained her the right way. She's in form, she's going forward, and I think she can take this one. I was quite pleasantly surprised to see her at around about 5.5 or something. So yeah, I'm with Totnes.
For the Mill Reef, Mr. Sketch is 4.0, 7 questions, 5.0, Ray 6.0, bigger prices thereafter. We're both with Mr. Sketch. I thought he was electric at Salisbury. The Newbury run was encouraging. It's form with a little bit of depth to it as well. And he clearly learned to bundle from Newbury to Salisbury. He bolted up by nigh on 10 lengths, and that was the performance of that day. And Eve Johnson Horton nominated this race after as an obvious one to come to. I think he's a fair price at 4.0. I'm probably, when you're there and you see a performance, you maybe get a bit carried away. But I don't know. I thought he could be shorter on the basis of that against a few horses who've just come up short in graded company. He's got to step up. I know he's got to prove he handles testing ground, but on pure ability, I thought he was very much the one to beat.
Yeah, not many horses win by 9.5 lengths over 6 furlongs. And that's what Mr. Sketch did at Salisbury. And do you know what? I didn't think he liked the decent ground there. I thought he looked much happier when he was beaten first time up at Newbury, albeit only by a neck. And that was a really encouraging start. And in the ground was good to soft, I think, in that day. And the pedigree also backs it up because Mr. Sketch is by Territories, who's 11% winners on fast ground and 15%. So 11% on good to firm, 15% on good to soft. And they do appreciate a little bit of juice. So the running style and the pedigree points to the conditions shouldn't be, or should be less of a problem for Mr. Sketch than some of the others, that's for sure. And the other thing that I think is interesting, Eve Johnson Horton, who I think is a very good trainer. I think she's been training for 15 or 16 years since taking over from her dad. And she's never had a group winner in a 2-year-old race before this season. And she's had 2. So she's got an exceptionally strong bunch of 2-year-olds. And so she'll know where she stands. And of what Mr. Sketch did last time, you'd imagine that he's right up there with them. So I think he's a really strong bet.
All right, that's Mr. Sketch in the 3:15 for both Steve and I. Moving on to the Matchbook Zero long shots. Unsurprisingly, we're both looking at the Ayr Gold Cup. The market goes live on Matchbook Zero. Markets go live at 10 a.m. And it's well worth checking out because they're win-only bets, but you'll most likely be getting best odds because of the nature of the exchange. And with Matchbook Zero, there is zero margin and there's zero commission as well. So your winnings, you don't pay any commission on. So that only enhances your chances of getting best odds. Mine's Mr. Wagyu in the Ayr Gold Cup, and Steve?
Fast Response
in the Ayr Gold Cup. Best lays, I am going to lay Sense of Duty. She's back off 400 odd days off the track, and I'm not certain she wants the ground. So I thought around about 2.1, she was worth taking on. Steve's with Nymphadora in that race. It's not the deepest race, but she's just got a profile where I was very happy to take her on at the prices. Sense of Duty. No lay for you, Steve?
No, not particularly. Although I'd be with Owen if that 2-year-old was 1.6.
Rakia, depending what price she goes off. And Saturday bets by Prospero for me, Steve, in the inside, the 150 cheap piece on for the first time.
Yeah, Mr. Sketch for me, for the reasons we just mentioned about 2 minutes ago. I forgot to mention in the Silver Cup, Punch Bowl Flyers had 2 runs for John O'Shea, who I think is a really good trainer, certainly at placing his horses. If it does rain heavily, if it does go properly soft, this horse can be a very big danger. Punch Bowl Flyer, I think, coincidentally, I think used to be trained by Eve Johnson Horton, but it's now down next to the river down near Chepstow with John O'Shea, who's taking this horse a long way, and third start might well be able to make an impression in the Silver Cup, but I'm still with Woven in that one. But with a big price, Punch Bowl Flyer, I'd chuck a few quid out if it was soft.
All right, good stuff. There you go. Those are our best bets that you just had there. My Prospero and Mr. Sketch. And head to insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all of our bets, and the documents for all of this weekend previewed sport will be up there. Our thanks to producer Daniel Hussey. Steve, thank you. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.